All right, throw your eyes if you can over at the Honda Live Tracker, sportsnet.ca/live tracker. You can see the scrolling rolling up there, momentum tracker, win probability, and so much more. Your stats, face-offs, win, all the things for you to chirp your pals about as you're enjoying this Stanley Cup final game. Sportsnet.ca/live tracker. Okay, here we are in the second intermission. I'm sitting with Elliot Friedman. We will get to Saturday headlines in just a second. You want to talk with Phil Kessel? We have Phil Kessel stuff, coaches' challenges, and so much more. But first, let's go over here and talk about the triplets. Mike, Tyler Johnson now sets a record, beats Brad Richards and Ruslan Fedotenko's 12 goals for 13 now as the Tampa Bay Lightning in the playoffs.
So I guess they're not struggling anymore. They struggled for a little bit, but they certainly got it going in this game. But the reason they get it going is the same reason that they've been effective all year long, 5-on-5. They do such a good job working back defensively, and that opens up their offense. Watch the routes that their forwards take. They get high and they attack low. It's tough for defensemen to track them that high. It's tough for forwards to pick them out, even on the goals. There's Palat. He sees he's got Kucherov in front, so he's going to go and look for a seam pass, but also be in good defensive responsive position. Johnson, he slides, makes himself available, and then Kucherov with the nice hands. He can hang in there because he has two guys that are doing the job. 3-on-2, center lane drive, and again, watch Palat. He sees two guys down below that are pressuring the puck. He doesn't hang in behind the net. He retreats back to the front, and now he comes back in, attacks from up high, and watch Brent Seabrook. Who am I going to go to? Where do I go? He has to respect Palat. It's a greasy goal, but one that is made available because of all those defensive routes they take. Elliott talked about why Stamkos doesn't play as much. It's the play of those three guys defensively that make them so valuable to Cooper.
Hockey awareness, no question about it, Mike and Nick, but it's so impressive that they rebounded after a terrible first game in this, because forget about hockey awareness and hockey sense and all that. That pressure, that can be overwhelming, and they've fought through that.
And Johnson's proven you don't have to be 6'3" to have success in this league anymore. Yeah. And Andrew Shaw's another guy that's proven it for Chicago, and what great success he's had this time of year. And these are the goals that Andrew Shaw scores. And again, under 6 feet. You want to play in the tough areas in front of the net. Two things have to happen when you're under 6 foot. You got to be, number one, fearless, and number two, you got to be smart. Smart in a way where there's times you're going to be confrontational in front of the net, and there's times where you got to get lost a little bit, and that's your hockey IQ. Shaw knows Garrison's not tough in front of the net. He's too soft. So do you want to challenge him? No, just leave him alone. And that's where a guy like Shaw can slide in and get to the front of the net. This is 2011 during the Memorial Cup in Mississauga. I covered Andrew Shaw in this series, and this guy went through 2 NHL drafts, didn't get picked up. He was begging teams for a tryout, including the Toronto Maple Leafs. Wow. They said, no, not interested. Then Chicago took him in the 5th round. And man, oh man, he scored some big goals in 2013 during this time of year, and he's doing it again now.
Modern day fourth liner. Can do more than just run into people, has some skill, play on the power play.
And he can talk to Christine Simpson. Let's check in with Andrew Shaw, who's standing by with Chris in Tampa Bay right now during this intermission.
Thanks, George. Andrew, everyone said that they thought it might take a while for this series to get going. After that period, would you say it has now?
Yeah, I mean, you get scrums like that, you guys get trying to, choke guys out. Things are going to get, a little intense, and intensity is going to pick up through the series here.
Well, speaking of that, yeah, looked like there was a little intensity and emotion there at the end. You were talking to the official?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen in a series like this. We're both fighting to win the Stanley Cup, so things like that's going to happen.
Thanks, Andrew.
No problem.
George?
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Andrew. Elliot's on his phone. It's exciting. He might have more information for us as well. Just a second.
Any trades, Elliot?
No. As well as it's going, guys, and Kelly, for the Tampa Bay Lightning so far in this game, lots of jump and the triplets playing well. You are seeing something that you don't like so much.
Yeah, I'm troubled by this. Don Cherry talked about great coaching, and Al Arbor, one of the best coaches to ever be in the game, and I was fortunate enough to have him. Well, John Cooper's got to start to just sort of rely on some of these old coaching tricks and remember what you're doing here. Too many men on the ice. So this is a 5th time. This is last game, 5th time in these playoffs. Too many men by the Lightning, or too many men on the ice. Now, this is earlier. This is in the first period. Johnson goes out. Coach says, no, come on back. Paquette's got to go out there. And then in the second period, a really lazy change here by Stamkos. Look at that. He's got to get off the ice. Killorn throws it in his feet, and that's bad. And you can see Rick Bowness and what their reaction, John Cooper. So they really have to focus on the little things, guys. Elliot, what do you have for George?
It's Saturday headlines time, Elliot Friedman. I can see you've got your card filled with lovely stuff. Let's start with this, though, because there is starting to be some chatter out there about Phil Kessel.
Yeah, I'm going to be careful about this because things go out of control really quickly.
What are you talking about, Elliot?
At the Combine, there were teams and executives apparently, a lot of them asking each other, what do you think of Kessel? What's your opinion of him? Where do you think he's going in his career? And from what I understand out of that, teams are starting to call the Toronto Maple Leafs and say, if we're serious about doing this, what is the price going to be? I don't think this is going to happen if it happens for another couple of weeks, but I think we're at the phase now where the serious teams who want to talk about him are going to Toronto and saying, what are we looking at if we want to get this done?
Well, let's talk about the college kid who's a free agent, Mike Riley. What are you hearing there?
Mike Riley met with 9 teams this week at the NHL Combine. He's going to shorten that list to 3 or 4 early next week and maybe a second round of visits, but he's going to cut that list down very soon.
One of the things that a lot of general managers are going to try to deal with this offseason, and they know how hard it is to find a center, but one might be available.
Yeah, teams love centers. You're always looking for size down the middle, and this week the word out of the Combine was that Boston told Carl Soderberg it's very unlikely they're going to be able to sign him. They have to deal with Dougie Hamilton. They've got cap issues, so now teams are going to start to look at him as a potential free agent solution.
Kelly, Rudy, plug your ears for 1 second. Elliot, what are you hearing about goalie equipment?
At the competition committee meeting, there was no announcement made, and it's not going to be for next year. But I understand there was a lot of conversation about the jerseys and the pants of goaltenders. And don't be surprised if over the next season for 2016-17, the League and the Players Association try to work together to cut those down so it's only for protection, not stopping the puck.
Kelly, Elliot, I take this personally. If they slim down their pants and their jerseys, they're going to get a lot of Twitter action. Just trust me on this one, okay? And finally, Coach's Challenge.
That's not stopping the puck either.
And so Coach's Challenge is another thing, right?
Yes, they announced the Coach's Challenge will be going up for vote. There's one other thing they didn't mention, and that is that in the last minute of regulation and in overtime, it's the league that will handle the reviews. The coaches don't have to call for it. It's similar to the way that the NFL does it.
If the last series between the Lightning and the Red Wings was the Yzerman Cup, this could be the Espo Cup because, Phil Esposito's connection to Tampa. How about Tony Esposito, the former great Hawk as well, speaking of goaltenders. Third period action and more next.
We want to see the Stanley Cup playoffs from your perspective. Whether you're at the game, at the bar, or at home, share your experience with the hashtag #MyPlayoffsMoment.
That was my first shift in the playoffs. 2011, we were in Pittsburgh. Obviously, I was very excited to get a chance to play in the playoffs for the first time, but until you physically play in a game, you never really know what to expect.
Here's Stamkos to the corner. Whoa, he takes some heavy contact from Brooks Orpik.
I know Brooks is a guy who obviously lays a lot of big hits out there. Kind of tried to get out of the way, and by that time, it was the deer in the headlights moment. I saw him coming, and he laid me out pretty good. It took me a second to regroup where I realized I was good to go.
The message has been sent to the youngster here early.
That was kind of well, here we are, NHL playoffs, first game. I might as well get it out of the way quick. So that was an eye-opener for me.
It's great hearing these guys' first playoff games. Kelly, you remember your first?
Of course, every player does. And it was 1985. I was with the Islanders. We were playing Washington Capitals in the first round. The playoffs, we lost game 1. Billy Smith played net. Al Arbour threw me in for game 2. We lost 2-1 in overtime. Mike Gartner scored. And to this day, I still say it was goalie interference.
Good thing you never got the Capitals back again in overtime.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Elliot.
Thumbs down. How was your first playoff game?
We lost.
Madison Square Garden, please.
Not bad at all. It's 3-2 Lightning over the Hawks. Third period action in the Stanley Cup final. Game 2.